Hey everyone, this is Chris back again with another BMW video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit out of the norm, and we're going to be taking a look at this E39 Touring behind me that we just acquired for the channel, and we're going to be using in our upcoming E39 M5 wagon build. Check this out. We're going to be showing you 10 things that you need to look for when you're buying an E39, and that way you can get one safely and in good condition. I won't hold the price back from you. This car came to us for under $600 and it was a steal for that price. It doesn't run. There are some issues with the engine that we're going to have to show you in a later video, but basically this 540i had a full catastrophic engine failure, and that makes it a non-runner. We're going to be using this shell to swap our E39 M5 motor into, which is currently in this Titan Silver shell, but we're using this one because the shell is in a little bit better condition. It's a color that I really like, and also came with a couple features and parts that we were going to need for this build anyways. And at under $600, it only made sense to pick this car up because it is worth so much more in parts alone. This is going to be the perfect car to use for an M5 motor swap, and the color on it is amazing. This is Biarritz Blau, and it's kind of a rare color, but you may have seen it on some of the E39 Alpina cars. And I think that whoever purchased this car from the factory really wanted an Alpina, but maybe couldn't afford it, and instead they spec'd it out like one. One big clue to this was the fact that it came with an Alpina emblem on the front, and the person who I bought it from said that it was on there since before they had gotten the car. So you can see it has an M5 bumper conversion. The front end was actually involved in an accident, and the hood, the fender, and the front bumper and the headlights were replaced, but it never went to auction, and for that reason it still has a clean title. Originally, I wanted to take this car right here and paint it full Silverstone and then wrap it in a darker blue or a dark purple, but it just didn't make sense to go through the work of doing a full paint job. And if I was gonna wrap it in the current state, I still don't think it would be really matching. So we're gonna kind of put this car off and take care of it in an upcoming project, but we'll still go through the rounds of fixing some of the issues on this, and it's gonna make a great donor car for some pieces and some DIYs that I'm gonna show you. Also, I wanna show you something pretty cool here. We've got 3 different kinds of E39 keys. Pretty sure this is EWS 1, 2, and 3 right here. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the most basic key that has a chip in it, and it does have a little light. I don't think, oh, this one does work. These things never stop working. Don't ask me why, but you can replace the battery and this will always work. Not that bright though. This is an EWS 2 key, and it actually belongs to the Biarritz Blau car, and it's perfect because it has the unlocking and locking features, but it is not, unfortunately, the EWS 3 key. And this is the one that came from the M5 parts car, and so you'll see that it has that new facelift key style and feels really good in the hand and doesn't look like this piece of junk right here. So what we'll probably end up doing is doing a key replacement and programming, but that'll be in an upcoming video. Now let's jump right into 10 things that you need to watch out for when you're buying your first E39. And some of these are going to be specific to the touring, but most of them will apply to the sedan and touring models, so pay attention. The first thing we're going to look at is fuel door rust. If we pop this open right here and take a look at the sill, there's a weld here and a pinch of the metal that commonly water will accumulate, and then it'll stay here without evaporating, and it will cause this to weld. So you can see that it already started a little bit here. It's just surface, it's on the paint, but this needs to be taken care of. And so a better look on the Titan Silver car, you can see that it hasn't yet come above the paint, but is definitely bubbling under there. And so if we were to scratch this off or use a grinding wheel, we'd find the rust, and eventually we would need to get through the rust, spray on a metal etcher and primer, and then seal it with original paint and clear coat. So we'll be showing you how to fix this in a later video. Now the second issue we're going to be talking about is also rust related, and on these cars a lot of times what you'll see is improper jack usage or rust in the trunk where the spare tire well is. So let's look under here where the jacking point is, and you can see that the jacking point is a little marred up and bent. You know, it's been through its good share of usage, but we just have surface rust here, so this is fine. We don't really care so much. Over on the other side, similar damage, not a big deal. This is part of the This is a strong part of the frame, so you could drop a car here on this frame rail and it'd be pretty safe and it wouldn't easily damage. There, however, you can see the rust that has started to come through the floor pan, and this is a result of moisture leaking in the car or a window that's left open, and these seals here, they'll let rust start to grow from where the hole is in the body. And on this car, I'm glad that I checked the trunk when I was buying it. What I found in this car was that it looks like something was kicked up in the road that dented the spare tire well, very close actually to where the air suspension controller is and the pump. So you can see that rust has already started accumulating there. On the Titan Silver car as well, we have some rust. Both the cars need to be taken care of in this general area. But I think usually the solution would be best if you're not using the factory air suspension. You should just cut this out and replace it with a steel pan, and that would solve your issue. Issue number 3, window regulators. This is really annoying because this is what causes the rust issue. But what happens is like this little gap that you see here, and a lot of times it can bring the window up to this point, but you won't get 100% seal here, and you can try to push this up, but ultimately you'll have to tape it shut. And so here on this Titan Silver car, the passenger rear window regulator is out. And on the Biarritz Blau car, the driver's rear window regulator is out. So they're just mixed matched, but obviously this is a very common problem. And what I've done on this car, since I'm temporarily storing it outside, is tape the window closed, and that ensures that no more water gets inside. I'm pretty sure this is the culprit to why the plug down below started rusting out in the first place. Oh yeah, and here's a little bonus problem for you E39 owners I'm sure you're familiar with. Be sure to check all the doors when you're buying one of these cars, because chances are one of them doesn't work. One of the doors will probably not open, and some of them, the issue is weird because you won't be able to open it from the inside, but maybe you can from the outside, so test all your doors. Issue number 4 that I've seen a lot of times is going to be the sunroof seal failing. And part of the design flaw is that here at the back, it actually has a split. And so when you're installing this, it's very important that you get this correctly. There is a little rubber piece inside that helps connect the two and make it a good seal. But you want to be very careful replacing these seals, get them perfectly aligned. And again, if the sunroof doesn't have perfect alignment, and let's say when you put it to the front position, it doesn't match the stopper and it's not to spec, then you'll get a misalignment, which can cause water leak in, even if the seal is brand new. So make sure that your sunroof cassette stays greased up and that the entire mechanism is working well. Next issue that's actually touring specific is air suspension leaks. And typically the reason that these fail is that the airbag and the air strut fails, and you just have to replace it. So you need a new sleeve. They're made out of rubber, and they tend to crack when they get old because of course rubber gets dried out. What you start to notice is, like on this car right here, one side starts to sag. If you drive the car every day and the system can constantly turn on and pressurize the bags, then you probably wouldn't notice it sagging. But if you park the car at the airport for a couple of weeks and you come back and the car is dipped down on one side, don't freak out, it will lift itself back up. Just turn the motor on and allow the compressor and the bags to do their job. Even though this car came equipped with bags, we're going to be transferring the old rear subframe and all of its contents to our parts shell and transferring the rebuilt subframe with the M5 axles and differential to this parts car, because that one already has all the work done to it. When we do that, we're going to be removing the self-leveling suspension system and installing a custom air kit. And so I'm really excited to do that, because that'll give us the opportunity to talk about the factory air suspension and how you can upgrade your touring to have bags in the rear. Now, speaking of axle shafts and the rear end, that brings us to issue number 6 with E39s, and that is how often they tend to break the center support bearings, the center U-joints on the drive shafts, and also the axles tending to fail a lot. And I've seen these personally on friends' cars and clients' cars, and that's not fun because they make all sorts of noises. Even though the car might feel like it's driving fine, but it'll sound like someone's trying to knock on your floor pan with a sledgehammer, and that is annoying. So keep an eye on these, make sure you don't have too much noise, and replace your center support bearings before they fail. Issue number 7 brings us inside the car. where you will see and immediately know what I'm talking about: the instrument cluster failure. So this battery is fully charged, but you cannot see squat diddly in the instrument cluster, and that's because the pixels behind here die and then don't light up, and you get all sorts of issues. So when you're buying one of these cars, check the cluster. If it's old and you can't see a lot of the pixels, try to figure out at least what the mileage is and get an accurate reading there. But I'd rather have an old cluster that's original and I can still see the miles and fix it, rather than a swap cluster with good pixels. So something to keep in mind, guys. Issue number 8 is super annoying, as you might agree, and that is going to be how often these seats fail and you just can't move them. And it's not usually even because of the same issue, but a lot of things. So first of all, these switches tend to go bad, so you have to replace the whole switch module. Or what you can have happen is a motor sees out and then the seat won't want to go forward or backwards. Or worse is that you can have one of the bracket sides seize up, and then what happens is that the seat will come forward crooked and move backwards crooked, and it'll only go in a certain position, like forward 1 or 2 inches, but it's like side to side. And so that's ridiculous. This car, you can see, I don't think the switches work, but I'm hoping that between this seat and the black M5 seat that we have inside, I know that the motors are good on that one and they work. And so I think it's just a seat switch issue that there is. And so hopefully between all these seats that I have, we can figure this out and get it fixed. Issue number 8 that I've seen on a lot of E39s, but also older BMWs included, is going to be ABS failure. And that's because the board in here can fail, or the lines can get gunked up from not doing brake fluid services often enough, and then you'll get an ABS light inside the car. So if you're looking at an E39 that has an ABS light on, then just keep in mind that it might not be just a wheel speed sensor, because those fail commonly too and can cause an ABS light, but it could be this module that's pretty expensive. And so for our final item in things to look for, I'd like to talk about some of the common failure points on the engines. And we'll start with the V8, because obviously I have one here in front of me. Commonly, what you'll see failing on these things is coolant lines because of how hot these run, or timing chain failure. And this one had it replaced, but unfortunately it failed. So I'm not sure what happened, but definitely when I try to turn the motor over, this timing chain does not move. And so for that reason, we have definitely got some bent valves here, bent valves over here, and that is why this car won't run even if I replace the timing chain. So probably going to require a little bit of work to get this motor going, but I think if we can salvage it, we can get it in the Titan Silver car, no problem. Some of the other failure points you'll see are just a lot of the oil filter, a lot of the oil lines have gaskets that are that'll start failing, and you'll get oil spray and leaks all over the motor. If you're buying an M62 or S62, run the motor, and while it's running, take the oil cap off and listen and see how loud the timing chain slap is. But the other slapping noise that you'll encounter on an S62 will be coming from the Vanos. And I don't have an M52 or M54 to show you guys, but this is my S52, and a lot of the issues are much the same. Water pump failure and thermostat failure all the time. Keep in mind the factory radiators on both cars, they are plastic and aluminum, and the plastic tends to crack and fail. So cooling system on the 6-cylinder is very important. As soon as you get one, make sure it's all up to date. On the M54, you'll have an idle control flap back here on the intake manifold. Obviously, I don't have one on my S52, but those can fail and they'll start making noises, weird idle issues. MAF sensors go all the time. Be sure to test yours and make sure that it works. But otherwise, these 6 cylinders are really awesome motors. And whether, like I said, it is an M50, M52, or M54, which are all very similar model inline 6 engines, they will run for forever as long as you keep the service with them. And you'll want to do basic things, like on my car, the first thing I did when I got it was full cooling system upgrade, and then all the gaskets, the coils and the spark plugs, and the MAF sensor. Since then, I haven't touched a single thing, and this car shreds. Now, I hope you learned a few things today about the E39 platform. If you have any comments on anything that I missed, then go ahead and post it up in the comments section so that everyone else knows as well. But I think I covered some of the most important parts, and otherwise, just make sure you take a good look at any car that you're purchasing before you do buy it. I'm really excited because I love this color. I cannot wait to do the M5 swap in here and show you guys a lot more details. I've got so many parts here that I'm saving money on by buying the full car and not just trying to source everything individually. So stick with us, guys. In the next video, we'll be completing the timing chain rebuild on the motor, and then we'll start getting it ready to actually swap into this car. Subscribe, like, and comment, and we'll see you in the next video.